Hi, this is Free Thinking Through the Fourth Turning. My name is Sasha Stone. Gavin Newsom doesn't want to beat Trump. He wants to be Trump. His meme factory is the perfect reflection for a party that has hit rock bottom. When I was struggling in my 20s, I would get a check from my dad every week for $50. It would come from Gene Stone's janitorial service. He's dead now, and he would never want to be remembered that way. He was a jazz drummer, after all, and that is what he wanted people to know about him. But he also had a janitorial service where he would clean office buildings owned by his friend Dave from high school. Dave made it big in real estate and threw my dad a bone by giving him a reliable route to clean his office buildings. My dad needed the money, so he went every day on his route, cleaning toilets, washing down countertops, and vacuuming the carpets in low-rent buildings deep in the San Fernando Valley. I know the route because he gave it to me when I was a struggling single mom who wanted to raise my baby and not put her in daycare. And for a time, I worked as a janitor so I could bring my baby with me. It was honest work, except for those few individuals who seemed to take pleasure in ruining a bathroom in ways that no one would ever say out loud, much less write about in a Substack post. But I cleaned them, and I did the best job I could to make my pops proud and not embarrass him in front of his friend Dave. Now we see the Gavin Newsom meme factory being praised by the media and the left for making fun of janitors. For podcast listeners, a tweet by Richard Grinnell that says, "It's so obvious that Gavin Newsom isn't the person actually tweeting from his account. It's some new team he's hired who has convinced him to step aside and let them try something new." And Governor Newsom press office says, "The Kennedy Center's janitor caught us." They think they're just doing what MAGA does, making fun of people. They make fun of Scott Pressler by calling him Nancy Mace. They make fun of Trump's assassination and the bandage. Except, as usual, the pod people have it wrong. Trump doesn't make fun of janitors. He doesn't make fun of gay men. Rick Grinnell, the so-called janitor, is gay. Not only doesn't Trump make fun of the underclass, but he also took over the Kennedy Center and now the Smithsonian to do what our cultural overlords would never do: open up America's culture to everyone. As it is, both of these government institutions have served the upper-class whites who need absolution for their sins of wealth and privilege. So they virtue signal with social justice to shame all of those bad people over there who do not believe in their colonization origin story. Here is a video with Batya Ungar-Sargon trying to beat back the CNN pundits.
Starting around 2011, 2012, sociologists started to notice a shift in white liberal opinion polling to where white progressives became more extreme in their views on race than Black and Hispanic Americans. And they called this, the sociologists did, called it the Great Awakening. And when they postulated, where did this come from? Why did white progressives suddenly start obsessing over race in a way that was actually far to the left of where Hispanic and Black Americans were on this issue? They found that the media had shifted radically how it talked about these issues. So, for example, in 2010, the words white supremacy were mentioned 75 times in the Washington Post and the New York Times.
But the media is different from museums.
In 2020, the words white supremacy were mentioned 700 times in the Washington Post and the New York Times and 2,400 times in NPR. The word racism, 4,000 times in 2020. The words white and racial privilege from 2013 to 2019 grew by 1,500% in the New York Times and the Washington Post. And the word slavery itself exponentially skyrocketed as a percentage of words. I'm offering this only to suggest.
I understand. I'm just wondering What do you think is the problem with talking about slavery, white supremacy, racism, et cetera?
So the point I'm trying to make here is that liberals will say, well, this is a reflection of reality. But of course it isn't. This is a reflection of a newfound obsession that was driven by the media. And that doesn't reflect either the moral evil of these things or the historical accuracy.
I do want to dive into what you mean by that, because you say that you don't think it's a reflection of reality. Based on what?
Well, slavery,
based on the idea that those things don't exist, that white supremacy doesn't exist, racism doesn't exist, that we shouldn't be talking about it anymore?
Based on the idea, obviously all these things I think are evil, but there's not more slavery now to the tune
of... but I think part of the problem...
100% than there was
is that
respectfully, that's not...
Bakari. Part of the problem is that back, not that long...
I know what it is to be among the sneering class. I know what it is to virtue signal. I know what it feels like to be a white savior, and how for years that was the only way people like me could feel any sort of purpose or worth, because otherwise we were just another white supremacist. I also know how this ideology benefited those at the top, and how ashamed I once was that my dad was a janitor, because like all of those in Hollywood and everywhere else in American culture, what you want is to be part of the rarefied elite. No janitors allowed. As long as you virtue signal, you are seen as good and pure. Well, not anymore. Newsom's desperate bid to unseat America's alpha male is reminiscent of a jungle fight between two silverback gorillas. My money is on Trump. For 10 years, the left has tried to mock him, humiliate him, defeat him, and all they got for it was a lousy White Dudes for Harris t-shirt and a humiliating loss in November of 2024. Trump has made a fool of every Democrat for 10 years, and he'll make a fool of Gavin Newsom too. Although he might not have to. The way it looks to me is like watching George Bailey and his future wife dance at the edge of the pool, not realizing they're about to fall in. They think the cheering is for the dancing. Newsom's obsession with Trump has reached almost stalker level. He so badly wants to be Trump that he'll stop at nothing, it seems, and is perfectly happy to abandon the moral high ground to get there. But as usual, because the left can't meme, he's doing it wrong. Podcast listeners, a tweet from John Kokerer. Searching for the left's Joe Rogan, re-menning men, and now owning MAGA. Have they ever had an independent thought amongst them? Don't they realize this contrived shit is exactly what's wrong with them? They're beyond repair. Their imitation of Trump and MAGA is off because they're depicting the version they see, not the version that exists. They don't get it that much of what drove Trump's popularity was empathy. People like me couldn't stand watching their endless obsession, the unending hatred, the nonstop attacks. That's partly why I left the party. And all they're doing now is helping to rally MAGA once again. Podcast listeners, a tweet from Brooke. Quote, "This is exactly why I left and voted R this year and can see no way back. They ridicule the lessers beneath them, MAGA, rural, Christians, working class. It isn't about Trump. They love being the uptown bullies who beat up on the poor country kids, and they couldn't have picked a better avatar than Newsom." End quote. Newsom is a try-hard pick-me. He is the sleazy villain in a Lifetime movie. He's giving snooty college brat who bullies the nice guy. And don't forget where our hearts landed with the movie Breaking Away. Or as Selena Zito tweeted, like comparing Steph McKee to Rudy, implying the former is more aspirational than the latter. He's the wrong one in a 1980s high school rom-com, like James Spader in Pretty in Pink. His meme army, flying high on Adderall and Wellbutrin, probably thinks making fun of the working class is a winning pitch. And maybe it is for the upper class, who have run out of every other option. I mean, it's not like they have anything to offer the people, right? You can't feed your family with memes. They have no plan for the future, no vision, no way of governing the whole country, except perhaps to throw half of us into gulags. What do they have left, except to imitate what has defeated them? And when you've lost Joe Scarborough,
like, you're trying to do everything to distract the American people from the fact that you're screwing up on job one. And job one is helping working Americans and helping the middle class afford their lives and build a life where their children are going to live better than them. That's the American dream. And you have done nothing but play politics over the past year and a half. It's really not that hard to do.
We'll see.
It's really not. Cut and paste. It's really not hard to do. And I would be telling the Republicans the same thing if Democrats were off over here. It's not hard, but I don't know why like Gavin Newsom, he wants to own Donald Trump. He wants to be Donald Trump light. You can't be Donald Trump light. Hey, Gavin, talk into the camera and talk about making life more affordable, not only for people in California, but if you want to talk about people in New Hampshire, our people in Iowa, our people in South Carolina, they would like to know how their lives can be more affordable. Not how you can own Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not running again. These Democrats, who I have called Chuck Wepner instead of Muhammad Ali, Chuck Wepners, they're the ones that are running again. They're the ones that are in the boxing ring with Democrats, not Donald Trump.
It does.
the party that is already too online is feeding the beast the left has morphed into as they've become consumed by their pathological hatred of Trump. So maybe that's right. This is exactly how to win hearts and minds of soulless sociopaths. According to Harry Enton, it's working.
Yeah, I think it absolutely has been working in terms of generating attention, which is what he's trying to do, right? I mean, take a look here. Let's take a look right at the @GovPress office followers on X. That's, of course, where you get those sort of the account where Newsom posts those Trump-style mocking types of tweets. Get this. That account, get this. Up 450% in terms of the number of followers since mid-June. And it's not just on Twitter, X, where Newsom is gaining. Even on TikTok and Instagram, his followers are up over 1 million since January alone. My goodness gracious. And more than that, Laura, more than that, what about Google? What about those Google searches for him? Get this, daily Google searches for Gavin Newsom up like a rocket. What are we talking about? Since June 1, up 1,300%. Compared to August 1st, look at that, up 500%. So the bottom line is, in politics, especially if you're thinking of entering in 2028, it's all about generating attention. And so far, Gavin Newsom has done a good job at generating attention.
The Democrats want it.
Do Democrats want it? Okay, do Democrats want it? This, I think, is the trend line that I think says it all. Democrats want their leaders to what? Try to stop the GOP or work with the GOP? You go back to 2017, you see here, work with the GOP took the cake at 74% compared to just 23% who said to try and stop the GOP. But now I'm going to come over to your side of the screen, Laura. Look at 2025. I'm coming as close as I can. 57% say they want the Democratic leaders to try and stop the GOP compared to just 42% who say they want them to work with the GOP. That is a major shift. What are we talking about here? Some quick math up here is 34% rise in terms of the percentage of Democrats who want their leaders to try and stop the GOP. So no wonder Gavin Newsom, he's looking at this polling. He's saying, I can generate attention. This is where the Democratic base is. And right now he seems to be following the Democratic base.
Why? For 2028?
For 2028, that is exactly why. And I think the question is it working? Is it working? Well, let's take a look at the betting markets. I think this gives away so much of it. Okay, the chance of being the 2028 Democratic nominee, according to the prediction markets. Look at where we were on June 1st. We basically had a clown car for first. Newsom, AOC, Buttigieg, 11%, 10%, 8%. But look at where we are now. Look at this. Look who's jumped up all the way up to 24% chance, about a 1 in 4 chance of getting the nomination. Gavin Newsom. AOC staying pretty steady at 13%. And then, of course, we have Pete Buttigieg, who has stayed absolutely steady at 8%. So at least at this particular point, the prediction markets are saying, yes, this strategy is paying off. Of course, the key question is, will this actually work when you're trying to actually, votes are being cast and counted? And more than that, will it work for a general electorate? Well, it's early days yet. We'll have to wait and see. But so far, Gavin Newsom has done a pretty gosh darn good job of generating attention for himself and a pretty gosh darn good job of getting people on television like you and I to talk about it.
They're hoping mockery and bullying by a white guy who tweets in all caps will work as political Viagra to restore morale among their base. Ultimately, what they seem to crave is their own version of Trump. Newsom is so power-hungry that he is happy to go along with it. But Trump is a survivor. He was raised to be a killer by a father who would not tolerate weakness. How else could he have survived 2 impeachments, 4 indictments, a felony conviction, 2 assassination attempts, and nonstop attacks from the empire for 10 long years? By contrast, Newsom won't survive even 1 scandal. Listen to him try to defend stealing his friend's wife.
The question is very simple, ladies and gentlemen. If you can't trust Gavin with his best friend's wife, how can you trust him with your state?
Mr. Newsom, I'll give you 30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard with respect to hear from Mr. Allen, who's a devout supporter of Donald Trump, talk about the issue of sexual harassment. And as it relates to the issue that's been referred to, I was honest about it. I was open about it. I apologized for it. I was wrong. And I've learned an enormous amount from it, and I'm a much better person as a consequence. And I'm going to fight like mad to do the right thing, to stand up and support gender parity and pay equity, and to be an example to my kids, example to my community, and work collaboratively and closely with my wife, whose entire cause in life is advancing the rights of women and girls and making sure we raise our boys to be strong and decent and honorable men.
Oh, and let's not forget when he ran like a coward from Aaron Friday.
Doing to our children.
How you doing, I'm doing fantastic. How about you, Governor Newsom?
Do you know what a detransitioner is? Do you know Chloe Cole? At the age of 15, she got her breasts removed and now regrets it because of gender-affirmative care.
How are you?
How about the Lodi woman? At 13, she got her breasts removed. Gender-affirmative care. No one stopped her. She was mentally unwell.
Yeah, I mean, I just had a...
You can't get a tattoo until you're 18. You can't vape until you're 18. You can't go in a tanning salon. But young girls and young boys can get their body parts removed. Talk to me. Our duty. I'm an attorney. I sent you letters. Thousands of people I represent. Kids who haven't been affirmed don't commit suicide. Kids commit suicide 19 times more after having their body parts removed.
Governor, parents have legitimate concerns about their kids being able to medically transition at such a young age. What do you have to say to those parents? What do you have to say?
First, he made headlines for saying allowing biological men to compete against biological women was deeply unfair. Then he backtracked, because of course he did. For podcast listeners, a headline from the Sacramento Bee: California will not block trans athletes from school sports, defying White House. Ben Shapiro opened his show with the latest scandal involving Newsom, who of course pivoted to Trump when called out.
According to the Department of Homeland Security today, Governor Gavin Newsom, the Democratic governor of California, and his continued support for sanctuary policies are to blame for an illegal immigrant trucker who was given a driver's license in California, killing 3 Americans after making an illegal U-turn this month. He was in Florida. He'd come in illegally in 2018. And then the state of California decided to give this person's name is Harjinder Singh, an illegal alien from India, a driver's license. And he was driving a semi in St. Lucie County, Florida, and he made an illegal U-turn that left 3 Americans dead. Here's some video of the crash footage. You can see him here turning. It's just a gigantic U-turn all the way across the road, braking barrier, and you can see a car slams into the side of his truck. 3 people die. Okay, so the governor of California is blamed. He immediately comes back and says it's the Trump administration. The problem, of course, is that he only had a commercial driver's license, despite being an illegal alien, thanks to a law passed in 2013 and then expanded by Gavin Newsom in 2022.
Newsom's tyrannical COVID policies destroyed the minds of children in the state, not to mention small businesses. We watched them all close down.
Well, that's right. And there's so many businesses on just this one block that could be affected by a new stay-at-home order. Right behind me, you can see that there's a hair salon. Then right next door, a nail salon. Then there's a clothing store that would be affected with reduced capacity. There's also a wine bar at the end of the block that's already closed. A number of businesses say they're running out of time and money.
we're barely hanging on by a thread.
Dustin Lancaster owns a boutique hotel, a wine bar, and other businesses in Los Feliz. He's been struggling for months, and with the new stay-at-home order, he worries he will lose all business.
It should have been busy. It was trending busy, but I don't know. As news sort of trickles out, I don't know if people are going to cancel stays or what. It's the uncertainty that is the worst part.
Lancaster says business was already down almost 70%, and he had to let go all his staff but one. Business experts say with a new shutdown, it would get even worse over the next few weeks.
I think a lot of businesses that held on as long as they could have finally realized that it's not coming back anytime soon, so they've let people go. No one wants to do that, but the numbers are just going to go up.
And this is the third shutdown if it's going to happen again. And really, we are really stressed out about this situation.
The owner of John of Italy in Westlake Village had to let go about half his staff. With the new stay-at-home order shutting down hair and nail salons, people were here today, and it could all stop very soon.
My rent is very, very high. The landlord pressed me to pay the rent, which is impossible, because I'm doing the business about 50% of what I used to do, maybe 40%. So it's created a lot of issue.
The governor promises loans and assistance for these businesses, but some doubt that will help.
Offering loans still have to get repaid. Businesses have taken a lot of loans just to try and stay alive, and here they are being put in a position where a lot of them just aren't going to be able to continue.
Tonight, while Governor Newsom is telling all of us to have Thanksgiving dinner outside, he's facing some new fallout for that fancy birthday dinner party he went to at the French Laundry. KPIX5's Joe Vasquez on the new photos and the new questions they raise.
As COVID-19 cases continue to spike, small businesses like this one continue to struggle, which is why the governor continues to catch grief for his recent dinner decision.
I know everybody's imperfect, and I don't expect him to be, but at this time, he really needed to step up and be that example for us.
Trisha Cajo is a private chef in San Mateo. She says she was disappointed by the governor's participation in a recent birthday party at the French Laundry, a Napa Valley restaurant, one of the most expensive on the West Coast.
He's implemented rules that we would gladly follow, but I don't think he's setting the best example. I think it's highly hypocritical of him.
He kept students locked down longer than he should have, and that cost California a $2 billion settlement for students hurt by the lockdowns. And there is no way to recover what they've lost.
We're going to start today in California, where a settlement will steer $2 billion to help students who fell behind in their education during the pandemic. Our Nick Watt has more for us on why parents, students, and community groups sued for this money and how it'll be used.
With this settlement, no one's cutting you a check.
No.
You're not getting any money.
I'm not. But I'm hoping that the kids will benefit, all kids will benefit from this.
Kelly R., still struggling to help her kids catch up in math, is among the parents, teachers, kids, and community groups who sued California and won a settlement. The state just agreed to spend $2 billion on tutors, extended school days, mental health support, and more for kids who suffered most during remote learning, predominantly low-income Black and Latino kids, who are now not bouncing back as fast as kids in whiter, more affluent districts.
But today is really about the kids, and so I don't want to say anything other than that these kids have listened to the politics, they've listened to the science, they've listened to their teachers, they've listened to their parents, and today our opportunity is to listen to them.
Every new week, I hoped for things to go back to normal, and every week that it didn't, I started to lose hope. We have missed countless days of school, so many school events, rallies, games, and dances. I understand the risk of getting sick, and I've seen the effects of this illness for some. Why is it that other schools, private schools down the street, are open? How come we are told our schools are ready to have us back, but we aren't?
This was supposed to be our year. The year we attended every single school event, knowing it was our last hurrah. This was the year that we taught college, made plans together, and made sure to spend time together knowing the end was near. This was the year of the class of 2021. Instead, we did not get to play our sport, to cheer on our friends at their sports, rage at our last homecoming, dress up for Halloween, show our senior pride at pep rallies, scream the loudest in the student section during our beloved Friday nights. We did not get to celebrate each other's 18th birthdays, exchange holiday gifts, and make memories that were to last a lifetime.
I currently am watching my senior year football season disappear. I hear adults say all the time, it's just football, but it's likely that it's the last time I'll ever play a competitive sport in my life. A sport I have loved to play for years, and it's just gone. What will we learn by being a part of a team and socializing is invaluable. I have lost my senior year activities to this pandemic. I do understand the safety issues and concern for lives, but the flattening of the curve has shifted to stopping the sickness altogether, and the cost has been placed upon us.
I don't understand why nothing has changed. Even worse, I don't understand why very few care. I've lost hope, I've given up, stopped complaining about the seemingly endless Zooms, countless Google Classroom assignments, and long boring days staring at my computer. Today is my last bit of hope. We need to be allowed back on campus for our school. We are suffering and giving up.
Where is the point at which we realize it's more damaging than helpful? We are ruining the lives of so many young people during such a critical time in our lives. We are suffering. Mental health is the most serious concern for kids nowadays. It is strange to think about how countless studies have been shown that too much screen time is not good for anyone, but now we are expected to endure Zoom classes for 6 hours a day and only to continue on it to do our homework. It's truly unbelievable, all of it. What is being done about this? Well, I'll tell you, it's almost nothing. But this is why we're here, because we need this, because we need our lives back.
Well, here's some truth serum for you. Depression, anxiety, and suicide rates are skyrocketing. Nothing is being done about it in the community that I live in. How disturbing. Why are so many people okay with sitting back and watching teenagers suffer when it could easily be prevented?
We have painfully missed school. We have missed our teachers, the administrators, coaches, and staff. We have missed in-person learning and the collaboration, camaraderie, and fellowship that comes with being with others, interacting with others, forging relationships, and bringing energy and laughter to one another. 11 months have come and gone. Spring, summer, fall, winter, and now almost spring again. The seasons of our lives spent inside in solitude most of the time.
Besides, Sheriff Chad Bianco is hot on Newsom's heels, highlighting the governor's obvious weakness when it came to leading California through a crisis.
My message is, Gavin Newsom, I am going to expose you for the complete fraud that you are, the liar that you are, and you will never, ever be the president of this country. You will never do to the rest of the country what you have done to California. California's problems are completely caused by California government. We have the greatest businesses, we have the greatest people, we have the greatest business minds, the greatest innovators, the greatest creators, the greatest entrepreneurs in the country. We have the fourth largest economy that is artificially propped up to be something good. And the thing that is preventing us from being great, from achieving that California dream that that I came here for, the only thing preventing us is government. Government has its boot on our backs, keeping us down with over-regulation, activism, appeasement of activists, instead of taking care of the majority of Californians as a whole. And it's an agenda. It is a complete agenda of making sure that government is in control of all of our lives instead of us being in control of government. And so the only reason I'm doing this is to restore that balance. The balance is supposed to be that government is supposed to be working for us. We are not supposed to be working to increase the size of government. And that's the only reason why California is no longer the greatest state in the country. You can have our politicians say it as much as they want, but we are the laughingstock.
Newsom is now in a mad scramble to prevent gas prices from soaring to $8 per gallon. Environmental groups are coming for him, just as the LGBTQIA lobby came for him. He'll cave because he's spineless. His biggest problem is that he can't meme his way out of being a white, heteronormative male in a party that supposedly speaks to the marginalized. Gen Z, black voters, and women will need to be on board for Newsom to win the primary. If Newsom and Kamala Harris, for instance, or even AOC go head-to-head, then they will be at war with themselves. Who are we, they will ask. Are we the party that can only win with white men? Or are we the party that wants to make history? Either way, and focusing only on the soulless bullies in his party, Newsom will have a hard time selling his own rotten policies to the Rust Belt, and he won't be running against Trump. He'll be running against J.D. Vance. For podcast listeners, a tweet from Joe Cocchiarella, Chad Newsom versus Chud Vance. And Steven Crowder, stop trying to make Gavin Newsom happen. Gavin Newsom is not going to happen. The whole campaign to make him seem like a Chad is so stupid. Be honest, which of these dudes would you rather hang with? And a picture of Newsom from high school and a picture of J.D. Vance. I'd bet the farm on J.D. Why? Because he came from nothing. Survived an abusive, drug-addicted mother, fought to defend our country, and wrote a brilliant book about forgotten America. And the more they boo him, like they did at the Kennedy Center...
Yep, there he is. Boo! Hush. Boo!
If you can't act like an adult, go somewhere else.
Yeah, he just ruined... They ruined this place. Boo!
Or kick him out of restaurants as they did in Scotland, the more likely people like me will stand up for him and stand behind him.
What makes you smile? What makes you happy?
Well, I smile at a lot of things, including bogus questions from the media, man.
Despite incessant public backlash every time this man travels, which is a lot, Vice President J.D. Vance just can't or won't take a hint. He's currently on yet another vacation in the UK, but even across the pond, he can't escape people protesting his very presence. Case in point, Vance tried and failed to have dinner at the Bull, a popular spot in Oxfordshire, because of a staff mutiny. When the staff found out about Vance's plan to visit, they threatened not to show up to work that night unless the booking was rejected. And so that's what happened. I don't know where J.D. Vance ate dinner that night, but it wasn't at the Bull. Also, a fun fact, Kamala Harris dined at the same restaurant just a few weeks ago with no problem at all. And the restaurant staff wasn't alone in their demonstrated disdain for the American Veep. As he and his family arrived at the town of Charlbury, Vance and his family were met with protests in the streets, a dance against Vance, as they called it, featuring images of the bald, round-faced, and ruddy baby Vance, as well as signs calling him a war criminal.
JD's success was earned, Newsom's was not. And just as Newsom hides behind his zillennials who do his memeing for him, he will have to rely on the legacy media to transform him from a cipher into a man of substance. But if you're making fun of janitors, you're making fun of my dad and others like him who didn't have a powerful aunt in San Francisco, but had to make money the old-fashioned way. They had to earn it. No one who makes fun of janitors should ever be president of the United States. The hardest work Newsom has ever done is slicking back his hair for a photo op. He's survived nothing. He's built nothing. He stands for nothing. And in that way, he's the perfect representative for today's Democratic Party. Thank you for listening to my podcast, SashaStone.com. And thank you all for your contributions, and this week especially. And I mean, you guys are the greatest, honestly. And if you feel like it, you can become a paid subscriber, or you can leave me a tip or not, or a review or not. Either way, thank you for listening, and thank you for being around, and for all your letters and your cards. It's all very nice. And remember, to thine own self be true.
before. I can look you in the eye. You're just like an angel. Your skin makes me cry. You float like a feather in a beautiful world. I wish I was special. You're so fucking special. But I'm a creep. I'm a don't care for this. I just wanna have control. I want a perfect body. I want a perfect soul. I want you to know this when I'm not around. You're so fucking special. I wish I was special, but I'm a creep. I'm a widow. What the hell am I doing? Whatever you want. You're so fucking special. I wish I was special.